What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar from the world of combat sports. Today we get to talk to Luis Palomino, welterweight champion, lightweight and welterweight champion, although we're going to clarify that in this interview. He's got a big fight coming up against Austin Trout this weekend. What's going on, Luis? How are you?
Doing great, brother. How you guys are doing? Thank you for having me over again, man. Doing great.
All right. You know what's ironic is I'm in Peru right now. So
Oh, no way.
I'm talking to a Peruvian while in Peru. Goes is in Las Vegas. Pleasure to have you on. Luis, straighten that out for us. You know, you were a champ at BKFC. Then for a while, we heard that you might have even parted ways with BKFC. Now you're back. It looks like one of the titles is still yours, and this is a title fight. At least that's what Austin Trout told us a few weeks ago. We'll straighten this mess out for us.
All right. So first of all, I've never parted ways with BKFC. Some people might have thought that because they hadn't had me fight in over like nearly a year already. I was the two-weight division champion. I am the two-weight division champion. When I defended my belt for the third time, I had already matched the most title defenses in BKFC history. It was Joey Beltran that had 3 world title defenses in BKFC. Nobody has surpassed that. Once I completed the 3 title defenses, I said I want to defend my 165-pound title. And, you know, I kept asking for it, and I fought 3 times in a row after that, and I didn't get that fight. And then I got stripped from the 165-pound belt for whatever reason. You would have to ask the company why that happened. But I never renounced to a fight. I never said no to a fight. I never vacated my belt. That's not what happened. People started to insinuate things and putting words in my mouth, like saying that I vacated this and I vacated that. You will never find a video in which I said, hey, I'm Luis Palomino, I'm vacating my welterweight belt. No. What you will find is you will find me saying I want to defend my welterweight belt, but I never got the opportunity. So they gave the opportunity to Jake Lindsay versus Gogo Slavinsky. And Gogo Slavinsky ended up winning that fight. I'm here watching it like, okay, what the hell's going on? You know, like, what's my belt being fought for? You know, so I wasn't a part of that. You know, it wasn't my decision. You know, Gogo Slavinsky ended up winning that title. And something happened down the line where he ended up crossing over to another promotion, Karate Combat. So by going to Karate Combat, now the organization stripped him of the belt. And since Austin Trout debuted at 165 against Diego Sanchez, you know, and coming from being a 2-time WBA world champion, I said, this is the perfect person for me to defend my title against. So I asked the organization to let me defend my title against Trout. And, you know, like I said, I never vacated the belt. I never turned down a fight. So when we were talking about fighting, they wanted to keep me at 155. So I could understand where the company was like, we don't want nobody holding 2-weight divisions. And I think that's really what happened, right? But the competition was very poor, right? So what I said was, okay, I'll do this. I've already defended my title 6 times at 155, and there's no money fight there for me, which is what I'm looking for. Every time there's somebody with a high-profile name being signed to an organization like Chad Bendis or Eddie Alvarez, you know, it's crickets when it comes to my name. So I said, I'll vacate the 155-pound belt because I already have 6 of those, and I'm going to defend my 165-pound title, and I'm aiming at fighting Mike Perry because the guys in my weight class don't want to fight me, so I have to go and bark at the bigger dogs.
Okay. So this Saturday will be you and Trout officially for the vacant welterweight title. But in your eyes, you feel like it's a title defense because
it's my second title defense that I've been asking for in the last 3 fights. I never lost a belt. I never lost a fight, and I never vacated my belt, and I never turned down a fight. So it's my title defense. Yes.
Well, we're excited about it either way. Austin Trout, a former boxing champion, came in, debuted, looked solid. And then, of course, against you, I feel like you're the GOAT over there at BKFC. Champ status, those title defenses, incredible. I mean, far and beyond anyone else, already doubling what Joey Beltran did. Look, if you had to shoot us straight, where do you think the lack of communication stems from? Because all I remember is you've gotten down at BKFC, and in MMA, you sure as hell didn't suck over there either, man. You had some great fights in MMA as well. I would think that a multilingual guy based in Florida where they do so many shows? What's missing here?
I don't know, man. I mean, to answer that question a little more clearly, I was at the fight when Eddie Alvarez fought Mike Perry, and after that fight, I was aiming at Eddie Alvarez, thinking that Perry wouldn't have no problem fighting me, right? And this is the dilemma that I've been in, right? And this is what explains that answer right there, right? After the fight, after he became the king of violence, somebody in the crowd asked Perry, he had called out all these people. He says, "Look, I understand you called out all these names that are not in the organization, but let's just stay here in the organization right now. And what do you think about Luis Palomino, the pound for pound bare knuckle boxer has been calling you out?" And his answer wasn't a very violent answer after being the king, crowned the king of violence. His answer was like, "Well, if the organization wants to put whoever they want to put in front of me, they have to have a certain amount of followers, comments, and likes, and I don't know whatnot." That was not a very violent answer. When I posted that video on my social media, he got crucified for that answer. And I still give him the benefit of a doubt that it wasn't an original, genuine answer. It was more from his management. His management and I, we don't see eye to eye. And they've blocked me in the past before, and they've blocked me yet again. What's happening is, what I see happening is that these high profile names, no matter who they are, how big they are, they're hiding behind their fame. Like, I don't have enough eyes on me. You know what I mean? And I can understand, the point of view of the company in the business aspect, where you bring in these fighters. You sign Mike Perry, that was a UFC superstar, right? You sign Eddie Alvarez, former, Bellator, former UFC champion, Luke Rockhold, former UFC champion, Michael Venom Page. I understand this, right? You're bringing them in with the eyes behind them. I think we've done that enough to build on your champions that we're building your house. And that's
Right.
me. That's the juggernaut. That's Christine Ferreira. I have 6 world title defenses, the only two-weight division undefeated champion, the one that they call the number 1 pound for pound. And it's like, I'm over here raising my hand, asking to fight all these high-profile names. And now I'm going as far as 3 weight classes above, at 175, when I walk around 170, challenging Mike Perry, because they're calling him the king of violence. They're calling him the face organization with only 4 fights. And they've given him the opportunities that I've been here asking for and that I've earned. They gave him Luke Rockhold. They gave him Eddie Alvarez. They gave him Michael Venom Page. And I'm like, hey, man, throw me a bone. You know what I mean? Like, what do I got to do? I'm not just asking. I've earned it. 9-0, undefeated, 2-weight division champion. I earned it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm here fighting for.
Luis, so, I think a lot of people would like to see that fight. It makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about the one you have in front of you for a moment. Could you almost argue that a guy like Austin Trout and the credentials that he brings over from boxing, along with how he looked in that first fight, could that almost maybe not be as big as a Mike Perry fight, but as far as skills go, could that almost tell us more?
No, man, no, I'm telling you, this is definitely a high-profile name. I like this name. I was supposed to fight him a little while back. The fight didn't happen, and now we brought the fight back. But this is a 2-time former WBA world champion. He brings all the eyes of the boxing community. Perry and Eddie Alvarez, to bring the MMA community. Both communities are huge. Boxing is older than MMA. You know what I mean? And like over here in Florida, you know that the boxing community here is huge. So they have all these old school Cuban boxers and whatnot. Like, everybody's tuned in. This event is sold out. Everybody's eyes is on this fight because he's a very high-profile glove boxer, very accomplished, fighting the likes of Canelo Alvarez and giving him a run for his money. The Charlo brothers, he even knocked down Miguel Cotto. Like, the dude has done his job in glove boxing. So this is, a high-profile fight in which I've been asking. It might not be the one I've been asking for, but it's definitely a good start.
How different is it in BKFC preparing for different types of opponents? Austin Trout, like we said, brings professional boxing over into BKFC, and he seems to have adapted it very well for BKFC, which is something that we've kind of said about you in the past. You've been able to kind of blend the two as well. How different of a challenge is that? How different are camps from camp to camp?
Camps are a lot different, man. People have this misconception that because you're fighting without gloves. Everything's like an animal aspect of things. Like everything's brute and brawling. It's not, man. Look, even one of the biggest animals that we all know still alive today, Mike Tyson. Even Mike Tyson, the dog that Mike Tyson was and is, right? Even he says that boxing is a thinking man's sport. Think about it like this. He's a killer saying this is a thinking man's sport. There's no gloves here. So if boxing, where your only punches, is a thinking man's sport, then what do you think bare knuckle boxing is, man? There's no gloves here. The smallest error will get you knocked out or cut big enough for the fight to be stopped. You can't make mistakes. The preparation is different. Another thing is boxing is an aerobic anaerobic sport. MMA is an aerobic anaerobic sport, meaning you have times where you're chilling, like kind of like in the wrestling grappling, you're like a little more chill, and then in the real quick striking or the switching of defending chokes and stuff like that, like your heart rate will go up and down. Boxing is 10, 12, 3-minute rounds. You have aerobic and times in between those rounds where you go crazy, and it's anaerobic. Bare knuckle boxing is an anaerobic sport. And if you're not prepared to fight an anaerobic fight for 5 2-minute rounds, then you don't know what you're talking about. People think, oh, it's only 2-minute rounds. I've been doing 5-minute rounds my whole life. Oh, I've been doing 10 3-minute rounds my whole life. And they think that they're going to come in here and be in the right shape, not knowing that they didn't prepare correctly for the type of fight they're getting into. This is an anaerobic sport, and not everybody has figured that out. I think that's one of the niches that we have in my camp, where we figured that out very early in the game. It's an anaerobic sport. It's a thinking man's sport. And, it's anything can happen in this, man. It's just a little different.
Luis, I have to feel like a win here does bring you to that Mike Perry fight, but let's say it doesn't. Or is there anybody that you would maybe want to bring into BKFC to fight you there?
I would love to bring many names, but they just won't do it. I really look. Jose Aldo's out there boxing. I wouldn't mind boxing Jose Aldo, in glove boxing or bare knuckle boxing. I'm sure he won't come to bare knuckle. I think they've asked before. Anthony Perez, the name rang a couple of times that he was going to come, and I don't think he wants to do bare knuckle. You know what I mean? There's plenty of names out there that I would love to bring, but will they do it? Will they come to the dark side, as I like to call it? Will they take off the gloves and come to the dark side? You know what I mean? That's the real question,
So, Luis, let me ask you this. Why is it the dark side? Let me just throw a few things at you, and then maybe that'll even assist with your answer or whatever. I remember when Eddie Alvarez beat Chad Mendes, they asked him, and you could tell the primal side of Eddie Alvarez. He was like, man, this is nuts. Like, it's nuts, but I want to be a part of it. And then he fights Perry, and then he had this look like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, so, and you've done 9 fights. A lot of these other fighters, like Artem Lobov, had a great fight, and he, I don't know how many he had total, but, he sure as hell didn't have 9. What's that young guy's name? They call him Hick Diaz.
Jason Knight.
Jason Knight, he was like, man, I'm all about this. But then same thing, he went back to MMA. Luke Rockhold, that dude's pretty gnarly as well, but it seems like maybe 1, 2, or 3, and I'm good. So what is it about it? Is it the damage done to the hands? Is it the cuts? Is it the sound of the flesh? Like, what's that dark side that maybe some of us don't know unless you actually get in there?
It's literally that, man. It's the dark side of the game, of the fight game. Everything else is a competition. It's a sport, right? MMA is still a sport. Glove boxing is a sport. Bare knuckle boxing is raw. Bare knuckle boxing is that fight that would, break out in the middle of a fight, like in the UFC fight when the fight breaks out. It's a bare knuckle fight. You know what I mean? It's the primal instincts of the human being. And it's why I named my management company. I have a management company now. It's called Primal Instinct Management. You know what I mean? So you have to learn how to manage your primal instinct, or else your primal instinct will get you in trouble. You know what I mean? You need it, though. You need to have both sides. You need to be able to have that crisp, good boxing technique, and you have to have that dog in you, like Perry does. When he comes out, it's like, okay, fuck it. It's either you or me. You have to have that. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to last here long. And sometimes you think you have it, and then some fights don't go your way, or the cuts end up happening. What's another thing that really happens, man? And people won't talk about this, is in boxing and in MMA, you feel pain when you receive pain, when you get hit. In bare knuckle boxing, all right, you feel pain when you receive hits at a certain amount of time, at a certain point in time, and you feel pain when you give hits because there's no padding in the hands. It hurts when you hit somebody in the head. You might have a fractured hand in the second round, and you still got 3 rounds to go. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely a complete dark side to it. It's the reality of the primal instinct of a human being sticking out, man.
Are you missing a knuckle, by the way, on your right hand?
Yeah. So that one right there was in my 8th fight. That was my first and only fracture.
Bare knuckle?
I caught Tom Shove right in the forehead, man.
Jeez, that is crazy, man. So you think like the average lifespan of a BKFC fighter is maybe 3 to 5, and then that's like you've gone far beyond, and then there's some that do one and done. What do you think that sweet spot is for most?
That's a good question. I think that depends on the fighter. Like the fighters that you name. The fighters that you name are hardcore fighters. Adam Lobov, Jason Knight, they were hardcore dudes. But how long?
Yep.
Look, Jim Ehlers. Jim Ehlers was the face of BKFC before he got to me. You know, I took him out at 35 seconds, and we haven't heard of Jim Ehlers since then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you. Some people come in and they think, this is it. You know, this is my game. And then they find out, you know, man, I don't think I'm really built for this. Or it was my game, but my time expired. You know what I mean? So to answer the question, man, I'd say for any newcomers between 3 to 5 years, but for people that are fighting like the way that I'm doing my fights, I think you could do a good 10 years in here. I mean, if you just take care of yourself, don't take too many fights, and aim the right way, you know, don't make sure that you aim the right way, and you're including your head movement and leg movement to the game. If you're coming in here just to brawl, you're gonna have a very short lifespan in here, man. You're not gonna last.
Yeah. Are there any other combat sports you'd like to try? We've seen Karate Combat had a nice year where they kind of made a splash onto the combat sports scene. And then we've seen MMA fighters, like we mentioned, Pettis, not just do Karate Combat, but also box. Jose Aldo box. What about those paths for you?
Glove boxing was my very, very first love. That's what I first, did. And when I was 10 years old, 10 to 13 years old, never boxed again. From then I went to MMA. And when I came into BKFC, I was like 37, turning 38, and I was too old to get a boxing fight. I was training for like 6 to 8 months. I couldn't get a fight. Every time I got a fight against somebody that was like 15 or 20-0, they will call me the next day and say, they said no, because you go into YouTube and you find out that I have heart and I have a heavy hand and I'm old and I'm a 0-0 in boxing, so I couldn't get a boxing fight. Now tables have turned. Now I'm the 9-0 bare-knuckle boxer, undefeated, blah, blah, blah. So that record counts in box rec. It counts as a boxing record. So I'm not just 0-0 anymore. So I would love to do some high-profile fights in glove boxing, and I don't mind doing it against actual boxers that are in the game or MMA fighters that have come into the game, like the ones you named, and Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo. Those would be my major first picks. Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo, those type of names in glove boxing. Nate Diaz, that's out there too. I would love to, And other than that, Karate Combat is very intriguing because in MMA, I was a good striker. The trouble that I had was against wrestlers and grapplers. And even that, I wouldn't get damaged. They would hold me down, and they wouldn't even, like run and pound me because I'll get up. They'll give me the opportunity to get up. So, I would lose fights for cage control. Somebody that's on top of you praying to God that you don't get back up, because I wouldn't even get hurt. The only fight I ever got hurt in that anybody can look up is the Gaethje fight, and I love that fight, and I'd love to do it again. But Karate Combat definitely would be something that I would have to do. I heard BKFC mentioning something about doing a cross promotion with them. So that I would definitely be interested in doing glove boxing or Karate Combat with the blessing of BKFC and David Feldman.
You mentioned MMA fighters that have come over to boxing. You would do that. What about a YouTuber that's come over to boxing? Would you do that?
I really doubt that they would go against me, but if they would, I would definitely love that. Look, man, at this point in time, you see my collection back here. It goes all the way up. I have like 11 titles back there. You know what I mean? As far as belts, like if you look all the way up here, I'm gonna show you something. Look, all the way up there, there's space at the top right there that's empty. that's going to be the 165-pound title that I'm going to defend on February 2nd. Once I complete that last space right there, all my titles are complete, and I'm not after titles anymore. I'm after money fights. All I care about, is what I've earned. And at the age of 43, I feel good. I feel great. I'm not aging bad at all. We have to understand that I started combat sports at the age of 26 to begin with. So I wasn't the one getting damaged. I'm good. I feel good. I'm improving. I'm not slowing down. My agilities are not slowing down. My speed is not slowing down. And how they say when you get older, la pegada, the hit, it doesn't go away. It gets better. So at this age, for my family and for myself, I believe I deserve and I've earned the right for money fights. And that's all I care about right now, whether it's going to be in glove boxing, against a YouTuber, in karate combat, or in BKFC. I don't care where it's going to be, but that's what I'm looking for, money fights.
Well, I only brought it up because once you mentioned that on your box track, it says 9-0. Jake
Yes.
Paul's 8-1. So your experience is the same. You're both based in Florida. You have the recognition of arguably the greatest of all time in bare knuckle. I would think that would be appealing to him. He's kind of gone after MMA fighters that were older in age, but Woodley, who developed some hands, probably a little different from Askren, who never really had a formidable striking game. No disrespect to him. And then Anderson Silva, we've seen him come over and do that type of fight. But Nate Diaz. But I'm thinking like, geez, have you ever crossed paths with this guy? You think you're on his radar or anything like that? Jake Paul?
Funny question. I just met Jake Paul about last weekend. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Last weekend. So he did my coach Andrew Pareda does this community run with Coconut Grove, and they did a community run in which Jake Paul was featured there. He was there, so we were running alongside the whole entire time, and that's the first time I've ever met Jake Paul in person, right? So we're running, my coach is in front of me, Jake Paul's right next to him, and I'm right behind both of them, and it was just a 5K run, a real simple run, and my coach introduced me and tells Jake Paul, this is the pound for pound, bare knuckle boxer, Luis Palomino. And Jake turns around and he looks at me. He's like, as we're running, he's like, oh, I know you. I know who you are. Yeah, I've seen you fight before. I said, okay, nice to meet you, blah, blah, whatever. A super cool guy, But definitely, man, that would definitely interest me if he was to interest him. I'd definitely do it. He's a much bigger person. But when have I ever cared about fighting bigger guys, right? So I have no problem with that as long as the check is good.
I got you. Let me put you on the spot a little bit too. Would you say your relationship with Feldman is solid, or?
No, we have a good relationship. We do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I say, a few years ago, he told us BKFC was going to Peru, and he wanted to feature you there, and then that slowed down a little bit. I can't remember if it was. I think it was post-COVID. And then, like I say, we hadn't seen you for about a year, and so then I thought, well, maybe just the stars not getting along with the promoter or something. But you're saying it's a good relationship. A second ago, you said with BKFC's blessing, so it almost sounded like you're being a team player. This just baffles me a little bit. Why you've kind of been put off to the side a little bit then?
Yeah, look, man. When it comes to Feldman and I directly, we have a good relationship. We don't have a problem. We see eye to eye in things, but when it comes to the whole organization, the whole BKFC team, and the matchmaker, for example, and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not getting the opportunities that I'm asking for. I don't know what I have to do to get the opportunities that I'm asking for. I can't tell you that I am being a team player. I can't tell you that every time that I'm asked about wanting to fight anywhere else, I always put the respect first to the organization with loyalty. And loyalty is a two-way street, right? It should be, it's both ways, right? And to get back to what you were saying about Peru, that was kind of our president's fault. So when we were aiming at going to Peru, our president went to jail, man. So like, damn. And so, once our president went to jail and things were like kind of funny in Peru, and I was there in Peru, and I was like finding things out and working things out, to bring in the organization, to bring in the show. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to bring in the organization in such a bad time that we couldn't sell. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I can't do. And another thing is, I can't do it all by myself. I was there by myself doing everything that I can do from my own pocket. You know what I mean? Now, if BKFC was to give me some sort of budget, right? And I've spoke to David Feldman not so long ago. Like, for example, we have the prospect series now, right? And I'm going to bring this back up to David Feldman after the fight. And I'm going to ask, because he told me that he would do it. But right now I'm focusing on my fight. So my fight is right now, this week. Once this fight is over, I'm going to bring this conversation back to David Feldman. I'm going to ask him, look, let me do a prospects series in Peru. I'll organize the whole thing. I'll handle the whole thing. All I need is the budget. Give me the budget. I go over there, and with that budget, I'll do all the press I need to do. I'll do the show with fighters in Peru because we have plenty. I was there and I saw them. We have plenty. And it's not just Peruvians. We have Peruvians, we have Colombians, we have Brazilians, we have Venezuelans. We have like 1.8 million Venezuelans in our country right now. And a lot of them fight. You know what I mean? So we have a lot of blood out there. You know what I mean? So if I can get this budget going from BKFC and do this prospect series sometime soon after my fight, then there's no reason why I shouldn't defend my title at the end of the year in Peru.
I think, well, I don't know the politics side of it, but I'll tell you this. When there's an athlete that has success in Peru, I've seen them, that notoriety is something that's very appealing to Peruvians. I'm going to go old school. Back in the 80s, the Peruvian women were really good, you know, and they would always do well in the Olympics, sometimes a bronze or a silver, and they were always going for the gold. This is the 80s. This is 6-on-6 women's indoor volleyball. You've seen that in the Olympics, right?
Volleyball,
it was big.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Soccer's always been big. Then they had a female boxer about 10 years ago that was really, really good.
Yep.
They had a few surfers that did really, really good. So when someone's clicking, someone's popping, Peru gets behind them. You saw when Pinedo came back with the PFL world title, he was received really well as well. I you know, and then like this might be a reach, but isn't there some festival in Peru where people get down and throw down? I don't know if it's in Cusco or where, but Peruvians love their athletes and they get behind it. You know what festival I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about Takanakuy, man. It's in our blood, my brother. It's in our blood.
Yeah.
It's older than a 500-year tradition where the villagers get together to resolve their personal problems through a bare-knuckle fighting, boxing fight. You know, even women with women and men against men. That's how they solve their problems and move on to the next year with no problems. And they do it every single year. It's called Takanakuy.
Oh, okay. So you got to be a part of that community, or could you come in and just be a guest fighter? Or I don't know.
Talk to people about going over there and just to be a part of it, but definitely not to fight them because they don't have the type of skill either. You know what I mean? They're like raw. They're raw, all hard. Like, you got a problem with me, I got a problem with you. Let's solve it fist fighting. You know? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, dude, that would be so cool. And I think right now is a great time to do it. I've been in Peru for a few months now, Luis, helping my mom recover from a hip injury. But I got a chance to go see Messi and Argentina against Peru in a qualifier back in October. Bro, I was blown away. I literally went up the steps into the stadium, the Estadio Nacional, right? I've seen Peru in the United States, but I've never seen them in Peru. And then you could hear the chanting, the fireworks, the vibration of the stadium, you know? And then the teams warmed up, and they went back inside. And then when they came out and the captains let them out, and again, all the fireworks and Messi came out, and the Peruvian captain came out. Dude, I was blown away, man. And like I say, I just think that this country can get behind a big popular sports figure. 9-0, champ, 6 title defenses. That's nuts. Why you haven't fought in Peru already, to me?
Obviously, what I've been saying, right? We have a Star Plus that streams us over there. People already definitely, tuning into this. But like I said, I can't do this on my own. I've done a lot on my own. I've gone to Peru. I remember I was illegal for 31 years. I just got my residence card last year. I went to Peru after 31 years. I went to Peru, and I paid a publicist, right? I paid out of my pocket $6,000 to go and do a press release over there. It was great. It worked out. It was on every channel, every TV, every newspaper. It was great. But this is what I'm doing out of my own, by myself. Imagine if I had the organization behind me, we can pick up out of 39 million Peruvians. Imagine picking up just 1% of that, man. Like, it'd be great for the company, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. When were you here?
Huh?
When were you here last year? When were you here?
What month was that? That was, babe, what month was that in Peru? The hits to the head. 1 month was sent in Peru. It wasn't last year? Yeah, it was last year. It was last year. Oh, man, I even got stuck in Peru. I think it was right before my birthday. September. Yeah.
Well, look, I barely missed you then because I got here in October. Well, like I say, I hope it works out. But I guess the focus is this Saturday, Austin Trout. It sounds like I know nothing can distract you because Goz and I were on a military base with Luis the week of his fight. And the dude was great with the troops, was great on the whole trip, and still went out there and whooped some ass. So I know that when it's time to turn it on, you'll be ready. So apologies for taking it to the route of Perry and all this other stuff. It's been a while since we caught up, but I know one thing, your focus will be on Trout. He's got some good game, but so do you, man. This is going to be a great one.
Hey, the Army thing was a hell of a trip, man. I'm always down for that. You guys ever need somebody to go over there again? I'm all in, and I loved it. That was
a crew, huh? We had Lamas, King Mo,
yes.
Dan Anderson, you. That was Eric Nixick, the extreme, the coach of the year, in MMA. We had a crew.
Yep.
Awesome, man. All right. We'll talk to you soon, Baboon. Good luck on Saturday.
Got it, guys. Thank you.